Hi, May, and welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for taking your time today. And I really love, by the way, your brand, how you put it up and your name. So, for those who don't know you yet, would you like to introduce yourself?
Of course. Well, first, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. So, for anybody who doesn't know who I am, my name is May, and I'm the founder of Luxuriously Fierce, which is a luxury journaling brand. We're going to talk a little bit about what that is and what that means, I think, so I won't dive into that too much in this moment. Um, but my mission with Luxuriously Fierce is to help you unload what no longer serves you, unlock the subconscious programming to unlearn and relearn, and awaken passion and purpose to help you live luxuriously fierce.
Well, I love your brand name.
Thank you.
So, yeah, it's all about, like, as you said, the main part probably in your coaching as well is journaling. So, would you like to tell us a bit, like, how did you come to journaling? Because, I mean, for example, me, I'm not the journaling type.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say, I like journaling after meditations. For example, then I love it, but I know many people they journal every day. So, how did you come to it, and how do you go about journaling in person?
Well, for me, I have journaled since I was a child. It was an outlet for me as a child. I was very intuitive and I channeled a lot, and I had these very clear cognizant experiences in my childhood where I would just know things or experience almost like deja vu moments where I would dream something. Dreaming was a really big thing for me as a child, and so I would have these dreams, and then those dreams would come true in this lifetime, or they would be reflected somehow in this lifetime. And so that's a little, it's difficult as a child when you're having these experiences and there isn't really anybody that you can relate to. And if you bring up this topic, hey mom, I had this really crazy dream. And I used to dream fairly often that my family lived in this little log cabin. It was a very specific cabin. I knew exactly where it was. I've seen it in this lifetime, and I used to dream that we lived there. And I held on to that dream for a really long time. And when I finally did say to my mom, like, I've been dreaming this dream, and just the look of shock on her face was just, I'll never forget it. And so she told me that we had actually lived in that house until I was 2 months old. And so then when I was 2 months old, we moved into the home that I grew up in. But there was no way for me to have known that. And just, I remember that look of shock on her face and thinking, oh, this is weird. So I can't talk about this. Like, I'm the only one who understands this. And so journaling was my thing. I used to write poetry. I used to write stories. I used to write in my journal. Just writing has always been my outlet. And it continues to be to this day.
Yeah, that's amazing, and I totally relate to this. What happened to you with your mom? Um, I mean, me, I didn't like journal about things at that time. It was more like probably all happening in my head instead of writing it down. And I I really came to spirituality really early as well as a child. I always loved witches and like movies with witches and everything. So I started to dig into it and also into Buddhism. And so I bought even a book when I was 8 about chakras.
Oh,
And I hid it because my family was totally not about spirituality, and even like psychology is at that time they were not open for it because it was something
mm-hmm.
you don't talk about, like psychology. And maybe if people had like troubles on their mind or something, it it's something you don't talk about. So I totally relate to this. um and so how did you then discover that you actually would like to make a business about this experience?
I think it was a lot of kind of trial and error in terms of it coming to be a business. journaling has always been that thing that I've fallen back on. And so, there were times in my life where I didn't journal as much. You get into your teenage years and, journaling isn't cool anymore and all of that kind of thing. And, the ebbs and flows of life. And so my journaling practice ebbed and flowed with that. And I think really it was sometime, I think in the summer of 2018, so just about 3 years ago, I went through what I now know was a spiritual awakening. At the time, I was like, what is happening to me? But I really just, this stirring feeling inside of me was just so loud. And it just would not go away. And I've always been that person who wanted to live life a little bit differently. I wanted to do things on my own terms, and I wanted to do things because I wanted to, not because it fit into this box or that box or this other box. And throughout that spiritual awakening, journaling was the thing that brought me back to myself. It kept me connected to my heart, and it kept me grounded really throughout that time and these years that have followed since. And so when I started learning a little bit about business and relating business to spirituality and feminine, masculine energy and alignment and all of these things, what I realized was, if I'm going to create a business, if I'm going to do things differently, if I'm going to live my life the way that I want to, I need to live by the things that bring me joy, the things that bring me pleasure and passion, and that, awaken that stirring. And journaling is that thing. And so really it was just about creating a business that was and is aligned with me and my truest, highest, most favorite being, my most favorite version of myself.
So if you journal, like how do you go about the process of journaling? Because some people, they, for example, have a meditation and then they just write everything down that comes into their mind. And some people, they have journal prompts. So like, what's your favorite process of the journaling?
I think it kind of changes, not daily, but I think when you have a journaling practice, it doesn't need to be the same thing every day. And so sometimes I wake up and I have these intuitive downloads and I just have this channel open within me and my guides are just speaking through me and my pen is, flowing so beautifully on my paper. And so on those days, I write down what is being channeled. And sometimes I need a journaling prompt. And I have a really beautiful friend who does really amazing journaling prompts. And so usually I go to her because, it's one of those things where I can reflect on how I'm feeling and what I'm thinking and kind of create a journaling prompt for myself. But sometimes you need that outside perspective as well. So I have people that I can reach out to and say, hey, I need a journaling prompt for this. I also really like to use oracle cards. And so if I'm having a day where I feel kind of stuck and there's, energy stuck somewhere within and I want to let it out and I'm ready to journal on it, but I'm not really sure where to start or maybe even what that energy is or what it's trying to tell me, I'll pull out an oracle card deck and just sit with the energy of that deck and say, what do I need to know in this moment? What do I need to do to clear this block, to move this energy up and out? And oracle cards are a really great way to start journaling or to use as a prompt as well. Sometimes it really, there are so many different ways. Like, it could be that you're driving down the road and a song comes on the radio or on your Spotify list and it just speaks to your soul. And that can be your journaling prompt. It could be something that someone says to you that makes you feel triggered or that makes you feel some kind of emotion, whether it's anger or fear or sadness or joy. That can be your journaling prompt. It could be something in a book that you're reading. Like, there are just so many different things that we can use as a modality for journaling. And so whenever I'm teaching about journaling and coaching through this, one of the things that I always say is, don't limit yourself. We have this idea that we need to have a prompt or that we need to have like a profound journaling, writing moment every single time we journal. And that's just not the way it is. So keep yourself open to all of the beauty that is in journaling and to all of the journaling prompts that are all around you, because they're everywhere.
I love that you brought this up, that like even it's not always like maybe working the same way, and you don't always have these amazing moments, and also that you can really take like kind of a journaling prompt from everywhere, because I see so many people like asking online, for example, in groups, like even in TAA, you see people sometimes asking, oh, where can I find the journaling book? And with like lots of journaling prompts. So I really love that you brought it up. You don't always have to have an actual journaling prompt.
Yeah, and even like if if journaling books, or because you can buy so many different journaling books now, and they're beautiful books and they are really great. I'm not discouraging anybody from going out and getting one, but you don't need to use that every single day. If you're not feeling called to just whatever prompt you're looking at, then it's not the prompt you need for that day. And for me, journaling is, and I coach on this as well, journaling is an energetic experience. And so if you're not feeling connected to the prompt that you're using or the methodology that you're using to journaling, for pen and paper journaling isn't for everybody. And so if you're not feeling that alignment and that connection with that prompt or with your pen and paper, maybe skip a day or find another modality that really speaks to you, because journaling, it doesn't work if you don't have that energetic alignment, if you don't have that energetic connection. We need that energy behind what you're doing. And this goes for all areas of your life, right? If you're going to love what you're doing, if you're going to love this practice, you've got to have the energy behind it. And journaling is no different.
So when you coach people on the process, and like what kind of person do you work with most of the time, and what is it that you take them through, like the journey you take them through?
Mm-hmm. The journey that I walk people through is really about themselves. And so connecting with whatever your idea of luxury is. And we have this idea, if you look up the definition of journaling in a dictionary, and I'm probably dating myself by using the word dictionary, but if you Google it, the definition of luxury means to have more than enough. It means to have more than what you need to be living in a state of great comfort. And when you read that definition, it's actually really beautiful to have more than what you need to be comfortable, to be living in this state of great comfort. And probably that's not what you grew up learning and knowing and understanding about luxury. Most of us have grown up with this idea that luxury is expensive, that to have luxury things, you need to have a lot of money. And so we're talking about shopping at Gucci every single day. We're talking about driving Lamborghinis and Ferraris. We're talking about having millions of dollars in a bank account. We're talking about having, living in $1 million home and blah, blah, blah. These are the kinds of things that we have grown up learning about and understanding as the definition of luxury. But that's not what luxury is. And maybe that is what luxury is for some people, and that's totally okay. But the literal definition of luxury means to have more than enough and more than what you need. But what is more than what I need is not the same for you. And it's not the same for, Peter down the street, right? Having more than enough or more than what you need looks different for everyone. And so if that is different for everyone, then there can't just be one definition of luxury. And so my whole mission with Luxuriously Fierce is to change your perspective of luxury, is to change the way that you look at luxury and really think of it as expansive. It's what is expansive for you, energetically and physically and mentally and emotionally and spiritually expansive. It is what you need to bring into your life. It is about tapping into your desires and your passion and everything that brings you pleasure and joy in this lifetime, everything that you want in this lifetime. And so that's a really broad thing. So when we get into coaching, we're talking about time. Time is not being linear, time as being multidimensional, and you can tap into any of these dimensions at any time. We're talking about setting boundaries and sticking to those boundaries. We're talking about tapping into your desires. What is it that you want to bring into this lifetime? How do you want to live? Maybe you don't want to live a traditional lifestyle, which is me. And so that's typically the kind of woman that I call in when I do this work, is, you know, people who resonate with my story of not wanting to live a traditional lifestyle of marrying your high school sweetheart, or, you know, going to college and then getting married and having 2.5 kids and the dog and the white picket fence. And if that is your definition of luxury, then that is beautiful. Usually the kind of women that I'm calling in to work with want something a little more, and they want a life that they don't have to justify to other people and to themselves. And so we're talking about setting boundaries, keeping those boundaries, which is the hardest part of setting boundaries. We're talking about feminine energy and masculine energy and stepping into your personal power versus circumstantial power. And it's just, we're talking about, you know, subconscious programming that doesn't align with where you want to go and what you want to bring and to call into this lifetime. We're talking about relearning patterns. We're talking about the words that you use to speak and think and write about yourself and your life and your energy, because your words are super impactful, super influential in your life. And we're just talking about so many things. There's a lot that are packed into my coaching. And so whenever I do coaching with women, the first thing that I ask is, you know, what do you awaken in yourself? And that's a really powerful question. So often we ask, you know, we say to other people, what do you do? But really, if we flip that around, you know, what do you awaken? It just has this whole other meaning that is so energetically powerful, and energetically it shifts. Like, you feel that sentence. What do you awaken?
Well, yeah, I love your, even like your definition about luxury. And it's so amazing that you chose this word in your brand, because I feel like many people, especially those who are maybe starting out as business owners and are in the spiritual business side, it puts them off, kind of, maybe even the word luxury. But like, if you really say how it's defined, that luxury is different for everyone, and it means like having more than enough and you have a comfortable life. I think it's probably everyone would love to have this kind of lifestyle. So
I hope so.
so I really love that it also helps people to like unlearn what people taught them of what luxury is, even though it might not even be typical for luxury. I mean, driving a Lamborghini might not be luxury for me, it might be for someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Like you say, I'm not really into sports cars, so I'm more the like,
Me neither.
yeah, I'm more the SUV type.
Me too.
So yeah, it's really beautiful, I think. Especially also like you said, like the words people use, because sometimes I feel like even if we use words that maybe discourage us, then we also use these words and discourage other people. And
Mm-hmm.
especially what we want, and like everyone, I guess, in life, but also especially as a business owner, it's, you really want to empower the people. So
Yeah.
it's really,
There are
really,
words that I have taken out of my vocabulary and I simply don't say them. Or if I catch myself saying them, then I sit in that moment and I go, you know, why did I say that? Or like, how did that just come out of my mouth? Or how did I just write that down? Like, what? energetically, what place am I in that word or that phrase came out.
So if there's someone now wondering, including me, what word, for example, would you invite people not to use anymore? Is there like a word you definitely would like kind of cross off your list?
Only one?
Or a few more?
Can I give 2 examples?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I'll give 2 examples. So a word that I no longer use is the word just. So we tend to use this word rudely, to be rude to people. We use it to justify being rude to people. And we also use it to keep ourselves small. I think especially as women. So for example, if you're writing an email to someone, like if I write an email to you and I write, hey Lisa, just checking in to make sure, blah, 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 blah. The word just makes it seem like I'm kind of shying away from you or that I'm shrinking my energy, when really I can say, I just want to check in with you and see how you are, how things are going, when is the podcast episode coming out? And I think as women, particularly as women, we're programmed to keep ourselves small. And so that tiny word has such a big impact. And we also use this word a lot. If we say something rude to someone and they say, oh, that was rude, or, I don't appreciate that, we say, well, I was just asking. No, you are being rude. you don't get to use that word to justify being rude to someone. And so that is a word that I no longer use in my vocabulary. A phrase that I no longer use in my vocabulary is I don't know. I never say that. And if I do, that's a big one that I sit with, because when we say the phrase, I don't know, like if I ask you, what do you desire in this lifetime? If we're on a coaching call and I say to you, what do you desire in this lifetime? And your response is, I don't know. That's a load of crap. First of all, you do know. You always know. You, somewhere within you, in your energetic fields, you know the answer to whatever someone is asking you. You just know, you know. And we say the phrase, I don't know, as a way to keep ourselves small, as the way to protect our ego. And probably if you're thinking of using the phrase, I don't know, your ego is saying, don't say anything because this person might think you're crazy.
Yeah, or it could be wrong, right?
Yeah, or they might think you're wrong. And so your ego is like, no, don't say, just say that you don't know. But really you do know. And your ego is trying to keep you small, keep you safe. So yeah, those are a couple of examples. And yeah, even like if you don't, if you're uneducated on something, like if you ask me, I don't really know anything about sports cars. We'll go back to our sports cars example. I'm not really interested in sports cars. And that's not to say, if someone's talking to me about sports cars, I'm not going to be rude and not listening. Of course I'll listen. But I genuinely am not educated on sports cars. And so if someone says something about sports car, instead of saying something like, I don't know, I'll say, I haven't spent any time learning about sports cars. So maybe you could tell me a few things about them, or maybe you could educate me on this topic.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I love that, because it's crazy that so many times we are afraid we might answer wrong, and it's something taught in schools, especially. You start getting afraid, maybe giving the wrong answer. And so I think it's really amazing if you really trust yourself, or start trusting yourself more, that you actually know. It's even something I love in Kundalini. It's like there's this kriya called knowing. So Yeah, it's like all about trusting ourselves more, I think.
Definitely, it absolutely is all about trusting yourself. And the words that you use really reflect how much you trust yourself and how well you have allowed yourself to know yourself and to know your being. And particularly with the words that we use, because none of the words that you use come from you. Like, you are taught words by your parents or the people in your life as you're growing up, right? The phrases and the words that you use have literally been told to you. The ones that you use don't come from you. And so when you start to look at the words that you use and the phrases that you use to not only talk about yourself, but to talk about your business if you have one, or other people in your life, or just different areas of your life, to talk about anything really, you sit down and you look at these words and you begin to realize how powerful they are and how impactful they are and how much they really do shape the patterns that you live by.
Yeah, it's so true. It's like, even as an example, what I noticed is like a few years back, I was using way more logical words compared to the actual words about like spiritual words, like even the feminine aspect more, because we are like living in such a logical world where it's right or wrong and where it's fact and then it's true. And when you can't actually see it, it might not be true. And even my family, they're like, most of them, they're more like logical and fact based, and people watch the news and stuff. And the more I noticed, I introduced more my own words and like more the magical words, the more you start attracting the people you love and you love to work with and to surround yourself with. So I think it's also an amazing process if you do the journaling, if you look at the words and then maybe see how you can like maybe introduce different words.
Yeah, absolutely. The journaling aspect is really, really helpful in being able to see all the words that you use and to move out all the gunk and junk, as I like to say, all of the subconscious programming that you've been programmed and conditioned to live by. You can see it on paper, and when you see it, it hits different.
Mm-hmm.
You look at it and you're like, oh, I did not realize how I've been living. I didn't realize how these thoughts that I have in my head that I just now put on paper, these patterns that I do every single day that I just put on paper, I didn't realize how much they impact me and how much they contribute to this life that I am no longer aligned with. And so you get to see all of the things that you're ready to let go of. And that's really beautiful. And it's hard. It's a hard practice. I'm not going to tell you it's not, but it's really beautiful.
Is there anything else you would like to share? Or maybe you can, if you like, you can also talk about your free resource you have if someone would like to start and get into journaling.
Yeah, so I have a free resource. It's a beginner's guide to luxury journaling. And so, really, inside of this guide, it breaks down my definition of luxury. It breaks down a little bit about journaling. It looks at them individually. So, we look at luxury by itself, and then we look at journaling by itself and the benefits, and then we combine them. How do luxury and journaling go together? What does that mean? How does it help you? Following that, there is a guide to my 3-step process for luxury journaling. So, and this would be even working with me one-on-one. This would be my 3-step process. Of course, working one-on-one, we go a little bit deeper. Inside the freebie is for you to do on your own. But my 3-step process is unload, unlock, awaken. And so unload, we begin with unloading everything that no longer serves you. So the thoughts and the patterns and the beliefs and the experiences, the words, everything that no longer aligns with this being that you're ready to step into, let it go. And it's my favorite step. They're all my favorite steps, but this one is the most impactful in that you get to see all of these things that just don't resonate anymore. And when you move all of these things out, you clear space for so many new beautiful things, and that is so exciting. And so the second step is to unlock, and so that means unlocking the subconscious programming that is within you that you want to live by. So in the first step, we unload the subconscious programming that you're ready to let go of. In the second step, you unlock your heart, essentially. You unlock your soul, and unlock yourself to step into the third step, which is awaken. And that's awakening passion and purpose and pleasure and calling in your desires and just so many beautiful things. Inside the free PDF, there's also a guide to Luxuriously Fierce, which is the name of my brand. And Luxuriously Fierce means something different for everyone. And so there's a step-by-step guide into stepping into your personal power and defining what luxuriously fierce means to you.
Well, that sounds really, really amazing. I love your steps. So I will definitely link it. So if you would like to check it out, then please check out the link I put under or next to the video, depending on where it is. And if someone is like, oh, wow, this is so amazing what she's talking about, where could they connect with you best?
The best place to connect with me is actually Instagram. I'm on there the majority of the time. And so you can find me at luxuriouslyfierce_. And you can type in luxuriously fierce into the search bar, and I'm the only one there. So I'm pretty easy to find on Instagram, actually.
That's really good marketing.
It is. When I stepped into this brand, it was a really powerful realization that I'm the only person that's doing this. So if you type in the words luxuriously fierce, you'll see my business Instagram, my podcast Instagram page, and my hashtag. Those are the things that pop up, and it's me. I'm there.
And is there, like, to come to a finish of this episode, is there any motto or any saying or phrase you live by?
Oh gosh. It's gonna sound really cliche, but again, this about, having a business is about stepping into this being that you want to be and to be super connected and aligned with it. And so I'm really aligned with my brand, and my phrase I would say would be unload, unlock, awaken, because it's something that even I do when I'm journaling. What do I need to unload? What does this unlock? How does this awaken? And if there's one thing that I would say to someone who is looking for maybe a question or a prompt, a journaling prompt, that would be, what do you awaken? What do you awaken in yourself? What do you awaken in other people? What do you awaken in your life?
Thank you so much. It was really fun to interview you, and yeah, really excited to see where you will be going with your brand.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.